Mwaka 2021 natumai kwamba umeamka vizuri na uko tayari kupambana na siku yako. This is Siasa Wednesday of the 27th October 2021. Tuko na Governor MUUCHENDU, tuko pia na wakili hapa, tuko na ODWEYO. Anasema anaomba kura, sijui wapi BUTULA wapi, atatuambia. Wakili yuko hapa, wakili wakieleweke. Kuna dada WARUNGU MWANGI. So Wednesday, request please when you join in, like when you like, we get to know that you're watching us, and after like please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This attack on it begins now. Lakini kama kawaida lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe, alafu basi tukirudi na kuja kuwapa salamu zenu. Mushendu. Ni kijana bishop, utatuombea.
Shall we pray? Father God, we want to thank you this morning. We want to honor you for giving us the gift of life. We want to appreciate the fact that you have allowed us to be here as we discuss matters of national importance in this show. We pray that, Lord, you may be with us. We pray that every conversation we shall have shall be to the honor of your name. In Jesus' name we give thanks.
Amen. 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 Asante sana. Acha tuanze na kulipa madeni kwanza haraka upesi, alafu tukikuja basi tunaingia kwenye kazi. Pole tumechelewa kidogo. Kwa dakika karibu 15, lakini haya basi ndio hawa sisi. Taanza na wangwana wetu pale wa Maridadi Motors. Maridadi Motors inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kuagiza gari kwa bei nafuu zaidi. You can import with Maridadi or import directly with Maridadi Motors. You get to save up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings. And we are giving you an offer to start your journey towards owning a car by depositing 50% of the value of the car. Then we start your importation process. There could never be a better way and the easiest way to own a car than to import through Maridadi Motors. If you also have some money that you want to invest like Governor MUUCHENDU, you can put in there Maridadi investment model, import to sell model, where you get to invest your money and you get to earn up to 15% returns on your investment. 15% returns on investment, you don't get such a deal anywhere else. This is it. We are on last week on Friday. We were celebrating the import to sell and a module and import investment model, and we were handing over. We handed over 57 vehicles to Kenyans. 57 Kenyans have been able to afford cars through Maridadi's plan as import to sell and also import investment model by Maridadi Motors. Maridadi Motors sako pia nakupa nafasi ya kuweza kuweka akiba. If you want to save for two reasons: one, if you are saving for a unit or you are saving for a car, you can save up to 50% of the total value of the car. Alafu nyingine basi unaanza kuilipia pole pole ukiendesha gari. And if you also want to save for keeping your savings, and at the SACCO you can get up to 15% for every investment and every saving that you're putting in the SACCO. Maridadi Motors inakuhakikisha kwamba ina move, inasema moving your status. Maridadi Motors moves your status. If also you are building and you're building and you are at the point where you're roofing, I'll tell you this, that your roof is your house's legacy. You don't get to do it twice, you do it once only. So Rexa Roofing gives you an opportunity to roof your building in the most beautiful way. You get beautiful roofs courtesy of Rexa Roofing. Rexa Roofing is giving you an opportunity to own to have quality roofing shingles, stone coated tiles, na pia kama unataka kuweka water harvesting unatumia PVC water harvesting gutters from Rexa Roofing. Rexa Roofing as well, we are extending the customer service week all through October, and we're giving you 10% on all waterproofing materials. All waterproofing solutions, we are giving you a 10% discount. 10% off all waterproofing materials. Rexa Roofing, roof your wall. Go to www.rexaroofing.com. Wapigie simu, nambari ni 0704464646. Wapigie simu haraka pesi, alafu uweze kuchapa kazi na uweze kuhakikisha kwamba nyumba yako inakaa shwari zaidi. Na pia kuna juice nyingine, mwambie hivi kwamba juice ni moja tu. Juice ni Orchid Valley but also Peptan, na pia Recharge Dawa inahakikisha kwamba unakuwa na nguvu zaidi, nguvu maridadi siku nzima. Na pia kama unataka kung'ara mng'aro kama hii shwari ambao unaiona siku ya leo, nafuta majamaa ambao wanaitwa D Square wakiwa pale Eldoret. D Square fourth floor Ketia building, waweze kuhakikisha kwamba unapata nguo safi zaidi. Now you can get up to discounts of 20%. Ukikimbia pale useme matumwa from the tackle, you get up to 20% discount on your clothes. 10 to 20% discount on your clothes. Also, we are giving you serious holiday packages that are coming in very soon. I'll be telling you from tomorrow probably. I'll be telling you the best packages that we're giving you for your holiday. Na unaweza lipia mdogo mdogo. Kama unataka kwenda Mombasa, basi unaweza lipia pole pole. Unaweza lipia mdogo mdogo, ulipia holiday yako pole pole, halafu basi ikifika wakati wake unaweza kwenda kwa njia rahisi zaidi. Details will come in from tomorrow. Tutaweza kujua ni kina nani hao, ama hakikisha kwamba mnaweza kupata deal safi zaidi za tours ama deal safi zaidi za holiday. Sholim Kibet Benachi number 1 anasema takla number 1. Asante sana, thank you so much for being takla number 1. Queen Blessings na kuwa na asante. Nuru Ahmed, good morning Mr. Vitok, tuned in from Migori, asante sana. Kasim K, good morning sir, tuned in from Umoja. Martin Kishuki, Thanks, Advocate MWANGI, for your notification. Waiting patiently for the debate, watching on the move. God bless. Asante sana. Haemba Wandambusi, good morning, class, tuned in from the great county of Trans Nzoia. Kudos for the good work and informative work. Gerald, keep it up or keeping on. Asante sana. Thank you so much. Alex Roni Biriri, good morning. Tumerauka salama. Strawback Eldore, niko ndani. Asante sana tu Strawback Eldore, watu wa nyumbani hao. Asante sana. Rono Ian, good morning. Tackle, great case for a great show. Asante. Larry Kimonori, good morning. Gerald, tuned in from Nairobi. Rono Ian, amen boss. Asante sana. Joram Kibet, Baba Gloria anakusalimia. Ala, okay. Steve Baba Gloria ni Steve Mfalme Meru Kidogo tuned in. Asante. Daniel K Mosbey, good morning. Gerald falling from Sydney, we enjoy the show. Kibira, asante sana Daniel Mosbey. Jaram Kibet, Baba Gloria, okay, na Baba Gloria mna nini? Ernest Lagat, good morning. Jogoro Nairobi Kolokta, asante sana Ernest. Joram Kibet, Baba Gloria anasa, Joram jameni lala bwana, ama mke wende kazini. Diga Chebwae, good morning. On the Wajelo Bitok Aslas tuko ndani, alafu Credo squeeze zipotea bana. Aya, kuanzia Jumatatu mtakuwa mnapata airtime. Alex Roni Biriri, Gerald Bitok, good morning. Tumerauka salama. Asante sana Kiprop Bed, good morning. Gerald Bitok, good morning to my brother. Jack Limo, good morning. And Jack Limo kutoka Suswa Kipkoech Ilari, watching from Nairobi. Francis Otieno Nyerere, good morning to my brother. Good morning, watching from Euless, Texas. Asante sana ndugu yangu all the way from Texas, United States of America. Kipkembai Korir, good morning. Takla Nicolas kutoka Cherangani. Ariemba Job, watching from Cabernet Road, Nairobi. Asante. Na uko mbali sana Ariemba. Kwa karibu na sisi. Kimutai Rotich, good morning. Gerald tuned in from Kentucky, United States. Asante sana Kimutai. Aaron Chelanga following from Cabernet. Thank you so much Chelanga. Na Musase Sifuna for the first time Amia. Hope you enjoy and keep it here. Thank you so much na Musase. Please keep it here. I'm sure you're going to enjoy the show. Mushendu. Yes. Wadhani yara kwa show. Amen. Uko salama? Kabisa. Mingi? Nikuwa sawa.
I've missed the show. I'm glad to be here this morning.
Bari ya Meru.
Meru iko sawa kabisa. Igawaje lega kadhaa hapo walikimbia kotini. Wenda kusimama kusema ati uchaguzi ya Kiago isimamishwe, saying that our candidate was still an employee of the Male County Assembly. Subsequently the IEBC threw out our candidate. But we've
so I'm a candidate.
Don't jump before the gun, you talk. So we felt aggrieved and we went to High Court. And High Court has since authorized the IEBC to include our candidate in the by-election, saying that they actually violated a number of constitutional statutes and some of the content of the Election Act. Subsequently, the IEBC is expected to gazette the new date for the by-election today. But we are hearing that it might be on 16th of December. Okay. We don't know the reasoning behind it because that is way too far to be lead up to our holidays. But we are still equal to the challenge. And I have also seen news in the Meru TV and the media of Meru saying that the UDA has since distanced itself with the person who went to court. Which I find to be outrageous because the person who went to court is the coordinator of UDA in South Imenti constituency. Is called Serasio Duranera. In fact, he was in one of the national media newspapers yesterday. So he did not just go to court. Somebody instructed him to do that. But whatever has happened. Whichever date IEBC gazettes today, wanaume ni kuonana. You know, anytime, any day, we have done our homework very well. As Moses Kuria, my party leader, keeps saying, we work with numbers. And numbers do not lie. And therefore, any day they want to put the Kiago by-election, they can only postpone the defeat. But the defeat is imminent and it is coming. And it's going to come way too hard on them. Yes.
So are you still running with the same candidate or now you're switched?
No, we are running with the same candidate.
Okay.
The same candidate. Because let me tell you, that guy called Serasio Duranera, the UDA coordinator, South Imenti, went to court and he actually told the IEBC that our candidate was an employee of the Meru County Assembly, which was not true. Milton Mwenda Kabobo was the PA to the deceased MCA for Kiago. And anybody who knows how county assembly works, an employee of the county assembly MCA is not an employee of the Meru County Assembly. Because what Meru County Assembly does, it allocates budget to MCAs to run their offices. You are given, say, 75,000. That is where you derive your rent. That is where you derive anybody, if you have a messenger, or if you have a tea girl, or you have a PA. You give them what is called stipends. So these are not substantive employees. And some of the things they could not produce was, when was this job opportunity announced? How did they do the shortlisting? Can they provide the appointment letter for Milton Mwenda? Can they provide a deployment letter? Can they provide his pay records? Can they provide his remittance, both NHIF and NSSF? Those are the things that qualifies you to be a full employee of any government department or any government organization. All these things are not there. In fact, the law is very clear. The day the MCA died, that is when the job for Milton Mwenda ended. Because a contract is not between him and the county assembly. It is between him and the MCA. And that is what we went to contest in court. And we thank the courts because they have seen the illegality in how the IEBC made the decision. And in fact, after the court ruled, the IEBC went ahead to seek for stay orders in execution of that ruling, so that they can go to the Court of Appeal, something which the High Court declined, and they were told to name a new date. So if they have named 16th of December, I will not, I am tempted to think it is like they want to punish us for going to court, because there is nothing they are waiting to actually do. It's a by-election. People have campaigned for 3 months. Why not then just set a by-election in the next 3 weeks and we get over with? But it's like they want to punish those of us who went to court. But even if they name it to be on 24th of December, we are ready any day for that election.
Even on Christmas.
Even unfortunately, there is something, the law does not allow them to announce a by-election in a national holiday. So we definitely know it cannot be a national holiday.
Thank you so much. Kennedy ODWEYO, good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning to you.
Good to see you. It's your first time on the taco.
It's my first time and it's a pleasure being here.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Salimia wangwana ambao wanakutazama.
Kwanza unajua kabla nisalimie wangwana, I was surprised. It's a positive surprise. Actually, I've been to a few channels and interviews, and this is the first time we are starting with a prayer.
Hapa ni tofauti.
Thank God, and it's a good thing.
Hapa sisi na Mungu tuko hivi.
Nasema it's good to welcome the blessings of the Lord in their presence.
It's important
so
to put the foundation right.
And I appreciate to be here. It's good to always have such platforms where we can share a few insights. You know, in this heated political environment where people are being pushed into certain sacks, you must belong here. It's always good to have a platform like this one where we can bring in different perspectives and try to see things from an alternative view, so that we don't necessarily have to be pigeonholed and put in certain stereotypic groupings. So it's a good thing, and I appreciate what you're doing. I follow it and I see. I wanted to ask, was PLO Lumumba seated here?
Yes. That's where you're sitting.
Yes. That's where you're seated.
And it's exactly
So in fact, you need to give us something. You're sitting there. You're tapping on the wisdom directly.
No, it's good to be.
You're sitting on wisdom.
It's good to be seated on top of wisdom. So I think I feel some extra confidence to be seated on top of wisdom.
So introduce yourself. Ni nani? Unafanya nini? Wapi na kwa nini?
ODWEYO Kennedy is a parliamentary aspirant for BUTULA constituency.
BUTULA is in Western?
In Western, Busia County. But before he became that aspirant, ODWEYO Kennedy has been deeply involved in issues of governance. I'm a governance and youth development enthusiast. I'm a guy who, for a long time, have studied and seen what young people especially with regards to their political participation and leadership. So I took that personal initiative and I decided to quit whatever I was doing in the corporate world to focus on this, because I believe I live for a higher purpose. So that's why I took that path. And in pursuing that path, because I've realized as a country, the young people specifically, their issues have never been mainstreamed. So you find that on most occasions, it's only the pellets that are thrown at them. So as a person, I believe we deserve better. Not just because we have the numbers. He talked about the numbers. We politic with numbers. There are people who are bargaining with numbers. We need to get to a point where young people also realize that politics is about numbers. And if we have the numbers, then we deserve a substantive seat and a voice on that table of decisions. Because as I always believe, never leave your future in the hands of people who won't be there in that future. We have mistakes, we have problems today because the young people of yesterday, including myself, who are supposed to have led yesterday and made better decisions that would have made today, which was the future of yesterday, better, we sat back and said, we are the leaders of tomorrow. I don't want to repeat the mistake as a person that I made yesterday by doing nothing or not doing enough. And today, that's why I make a wake-up call to all the young people. The only guaranteed day is today. The only time and the best time to make a difference and bring change is today. Let nobody lie to you that tomorrow. Nobody is guaranteed tomorrow. Nobody. So when you have an opportunity, which we have, and we are blessed differently, we have different opportunities, we have different privileges, we have different currencies. Let's mine those currencies today and do what we can optimally, maximize our potential, so that when tomorrow comes, we have something to celebrate. I was asking my friend before you came, I asked parents, if your son was to wake up today and tell you, Dad, Mom, what is your contribution to Kenya today? Would you explain to your son or your daughter in a manner that is satisfactory, that he can step up and say, Dad is building the nation, other than Annie? So at the end of the day, we need to wake up. And that's why when we come here, we really appreciate such platforms. We appreciate such spaces where we get the opportunity to share that. So I appreciate being here. And for the people of Butula, tune in and support Bwana Gerald, because these are the initiatives we want.
Asante sana.
Come 2022, we will be on the ballot, and we are on the ballot to win, because we have the numbers.
Hatari. Haya, tuleta tu Butula. Nasema we have the numbers. Haya, congratulations my brother. Go for it. I mean, I usually tell young people, I mean, ikitu si mtu. There's nobody who was born with a seat on their back, with a political seat on their back. It belongs to all of us. It belongs to those people who have the courage to dare. So, and first of all, there are two things I always mention. The first one is that for the young people, I want them to know that if you can vote, then you can be elected. And that's why the degree thing was squashed. I was of the support of the intellectualism in politics. But then I asked myself, if the constitution says that someone who is 18 can contest, where will that person who is 18 have gotten a degree? What is that confusion we are trying to plan? And so, if you are saying someone who is 18 can contest, can run for a seat, yes. Then where do you expect him to get the degree from?
You see that kind of reasoning. So when we get to that point, I always say, let's fix the law. But as long as the law is that way, let the people decide.
Let the people decide.
The second thing, everyone has a right to the throne, but if they can take it.
All right. Wakili, MWANGI, mambo.
Niko salama.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Asike kwa kwenu kina umana.
Huko kwetu.
Siafu zinaama.
Huko siafu zinaama. I told you there are different dynamics.
Uko aje lakini.
Niko salama kabisa, mwanzo ni kupesa.
Unaama lini?
Acha niseme kama DP at the opportune time.
Watu wajibilize kwa unaweza.
Unajua hata kama DP mwenyewe ajai ama uliona jana akisema he was expecting Anne Waiguru to close the other side. But chenye DP pia alisahau hata yeye mwenyewe ajai ama Jubilee, he still the party leader. Mwanzo ni kupea salamu za watu wa Murang'a pale Mathioya.
Asante sana
I was there over the weekend. People are really supporting you. Thanks for the good work you are doing, my brother.
Ambia tutakuja ground very soon. You are doing county editions. You are doing county editions very soon.
Tuongeleshe watu na nisalimie wa Kenya wote, watu wa diaspora, niwakaribishe kwa uchanganuzi ama today's analysis on various issue. Yeah.
Thank you so much, my brother. Good to see. Tutaanza, we start all the way from the top. Na nitaanza na wewe tu wakili. Kunaendaje huko kwenu?
Huko mambo imechacha bwana.
Mambo inaenda Sagamnege.
Mambo inaenda.
What's going on there?
No, you see, I'll tell you, Mr. Bitok and my colleagues here and our listeners. In politics, there are really important things. One, for what I would call for popular support, political support. That is the ground, that is the crowd, and that is the messaging. Probably they are not the key things, but of course they are more of cosmetics aspect of politics. And I think Madam Anne Waiguru, who is a friend of mine, my legal mentor, aliona kuwa kwa hizi vitu zote amepoteza sana. So she had to look for someone that she can ride on his back liweze kuachieve hizi vitu tatu. You remember even if we can go back in 2017, the factors that made Anne Waiguru to become the governor have zinakaa zimeisha ukiangalia kuanzia 2017 mpaka saa hizi. So I think it's upon her to come with to introduce some new factors. So ndio unaona ni mtu mwenye amekuwa ile popularity yake pale kwa ground ime lose sana. So I think she's trying to ride on the DP's popularity to see kama anaweza kuwa re-elected. But I watched the whole interview, and there are 3 or 4 things that we can be able to analyze from that defection. One is that Anne Waiguru could also be a Trojan horse for President Uhuru Kenyatta on the other side. Ukiangalia hata pale akiweza kusema, alikuwa anasema nasikia chama ni UDA. Alikuwa anaongea ni kama mtu mwenye hayuko sure hata ile chama anaenda. Na ukiangalia ule DP hakuwa na ile excitement yenye anakuanga aki receive other defectors. Bwana Bitok, when someone calls with the wife, wakati unarudi jioni unaona bibi anakupikia vizuri, anakukaribisha, sometimes unakuanga confused, is this loyalty ama kuna kitu anakupangia? And that's the same confusion ilikuwa na DP jana.
Bibi afai kukupikia.
Nasema
bibi akipika unaanza kuwa na wasiwasi.
Nasema Bitok, wakati mmekosana na yeye jioni ukirudi na mlitoka asubuhi hamuongei, jioni unapata amepika vizuri na kukaribisha. So you get confused whether hiyo chakula iko na sumu ama hiyo chakula kweli lile anataka mrudiane vizuri. And it's the same confusion I saw when watching DP Ruto's speech. Hakuwa kama akoshua kama huyu mtu amerudi ile amerudi kwa uzuri ama amerudi kama ile ito Trojan horse kuwa amekuja kuangazia mambo fulani. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What do you make of that today?
The defection.
Yes, it's a time of mass movement.
You know, at the end of the day, like he mentioned, you see there is a Kenyan politics has always rode on some sort of wave. Since the serious multi-partyism started. So you see there is this general assumption in some politicians that being with someone qualifies you for a position. And I think people, there are dynamics in politics. At the end of the day, Ruto might have the ground in Mount Kenya, but that does not mean that ground that Ruto has automatically transfers to you.
Becomes your ground.
Just because you are with Ruto.
But then again, does that cement then the control that William Ruto has in Central Kenya? Does that cement that? Does it cement the fact that the ground belongs to him?
You see, William Ruto, since 2013, I think this is a man who had an insight of the politics, the dynamics in the Mount Kenya region. That man made a deliberate step and attempt and effort to go to the mountain and try to get to the ground and on the ground. Because he understood the dynamics. He has spent a lot of time, a lot of resources in Mount Kenya to get that. You cannot take away the fact that at the moment, as things stand, and that's we assuming if he's pitted against the way it's being put a 2-horse race, he has an advantage over Raila in Mount Kenya, especially, and also there are dynamics about depending on what the president, how the president will choose to, because the president, you cannot take away the control the president has. The president still has cards that he can pull and swing that vote. So at the end of the day, you cannot take away that. But at the same time, on the Waiguru issue, I wouldn't take it as a tactical move, because that you can see it from any side. Could be a Trojan horse, could be someone, but for me I see it more of someone who is trying to fight, who is just trying to survive. Because you cannot, today you cannot be at Capitol Hill dancing around Warembe and all that stuff. Then finally you realize, the ground is... William Ruto has been in Mount Kenya since 2013. This is a guy who's built that. Post handshake, we all know what has been happening and changing. So for her to stand up today and say, this is... there's something that politicians always try to deceive themselves with. They stand on a podium and say, niende wapi? For those who are in politics, I understand that on most occasions, the people who are around that podium are always paid to be there. And they are even instructed. So when you find someone say, it's the people who decide. When did she conduct the people of? I never saw public participation to ask. I never saw town hall meetings to ask where she should go. So before you stand up and tell people, it's the people who have told me, we need to see town hall meetings. We want to see you organizing. There are groups in several wards. You have those caucuses where people are discussing. And then now from there you can stand and say, on 23rd, at this center, we had this conversation. These are the results. You do a research. There was no research, scientific or otherwise. There were no meetings, scientific or otherwise. There was no caucus. So when someone stands up and uses the people as a parachute to achieve their private and personal and selfish survival ambitions, then it even takes away the status of the DP. Because at the end of the day, you cannot, if I was the DP, I wouldn't celebrate the defection of Waiguru that much. Because at the end of the day, as I've told you, the dynamics in Mount Kenya are complex politically. In Mount Kenya, it's not like in Nyanza, where the politics is controlled politically, maybe by Raila and something like that. In Mount Kenya, the control of politics is beyond the politicians. It's not like someone will stand up and say that just because I can organize a crowd, just because I can talk on television, just because I'm famous, I can.
Run for the sake.
You cannot just wake up as a politician and think you can control it. So those are the dynamics that I believe that the Honorable Governor, I think, missed. And she had better advisors. If I was, even with my novice political experience, I would have advised her to take a sabbatical. Sometimes when it gets heated, she has a position. She can still reach the people without having to do all this drama. So the best thing would have been, take a sabbatical. As a politician, as a political office holder, when things get heated up, you take a sabbatical, but because you are an office holder and you have resources, now use the resources to go to the people. The people will still see you, the people will still feel you, that's the time you can get to communicate. But doing what she did, I think it's more of detrimental to her career.
All right. MUUCHENDU, how do you make of it? Waiguru has moved and people are asking, nimesikia ndugu yangu hapa Oduya amesema, he's saying there's a card that Uhuru would swipe. And people were asking yesterday, between ODM, between Junet Mohammed and Waiguru, nani anajua mahali roho ya Uhuru iko? Now she made a move, she said it's because the people told her, that's what the people are doing. Now she specifically said, even her own parents was telling her, hey, ground the UDA.
Yes.
But I've seen again, there's another twist, a funny twist from the Kirinyaga residents. And they are saying it's too late. They're saying Kirinyaga residents say they will only vote for leaders who stood with DP Ruto in tough times. Anyway, now, back to the decision that was made by Anne Waiguru. What do you make of it politically?
Well, there's a tweet that was going on where yesterday, it was the trend of the day by Gabriel Ogunda. And alikuwa anauliza, Waiguru supports Uhuru, who supports Kibicho, who doesn't support Ruto, who supports Girishi. Girishi supports Kibicho, who supports Uhuru, who doesn't support Ruto, who supports Waiguru. Who does Girishi support? Use F. It's the common denominator to find the answer to that. Now, one thing is very clear, Bitok. The Kirinyaga politics are very complex. And I will tell you one thing for sure, and you can take this to the bank. Both Purity Wangui Ngirishi and Anne Waigoro, Animobi Waigoro, will be on the governor's ballot for Kirinyaga 2022. That automatically tells you only one person can be given the UDA ticket. Only one. But both of them will be on the ballot. Because the Grishis have invested really hard in Kirinyaga for the position of the governor. And from from where Grishi sits, I would look at what happened in the Deputy President's office yesterday as a betrayal from the Grishi point of view. Because Wangui Girishi has been part and parcel of formation of UDA. From the word go, she has been there for the Deputy President. I don't know whether people know that actually Wangui Girishi folded her party. She had a party. They had a party, a political party that they folded. In fact, those people who understand Kirinyaga politics would know that they had already branded their vehicles with the colors of their political party.
Which was, what was the name of that?
Something, I can always check, I can't remember the name, but I know for a fact that they had a political party. Yeah. And they folded this political party when they were introduced to the idea of forming UDA. And therefore, it will look as if it is a betrayal to Girishi when you embrace Waigoro into the political party called UDA. And I think that is, yes, they had a party that was called Citizen Convention Party, whose party leader was Andrew Girishi. Husband to Girishi. I'm just stating facts. They had, if you can look at this card, that party was already, their vehicles were already branded with the colors of that party. They actually unbranded them so that they can brand their vehicles to UDA. They even branded their one of their building as the UDA headquarters for the county. And I think for me, this is the question the Deputy President and those of us who support them needs to ask ourselves. Have we introduced Waigoro and Rost Girishi?
Girishi has come out here, said New Days, Aslan Nation is a big home and everybody is welcome. I don't know if you meant it or not.
You see, let me tell you, it is like telling me, na wewe Muchendu ukicheza nitakuchapa. Mostly to put up a face, I would always tell you, jaribu utaona. And one day you decide to slap me. That is when the people will know whether I am made of hardwood, I am made of metal. Now, Girishi has been daring Waigoro to come. You know the famous saying, come baby come. Yeah. And finally, Waigoro has come. And she never thought Waigoro would be bold enough. But I will say this, Waigoro is already a chief executive officer of the county because the County Government Act of 2013 says that a governor is the chief executive officer of a county. The question would be, has Waigoro done his duty as the chief executive officer of Kirinyaga? As the MCAs came with, these are the same MC, because I'll tell you, the entire Kirinyaga County Assembly has, I think, 33 MCAs, 20 elected and 13 nominated. She had 23 MCAs yesterday with her at the DP. So these are the MCAs that slept in the assembly so that they cannot be stopped from going to the assembly to impeach Waigoro. And now, they have been sanitized by Waigoro and taken to C number 2. But I will tell you, Bitok, what is true. Since the election of 1988, 75% of readers in Mount Kenya have always gone home.
85.
Include we see the average when you compare who went home in 88 who went home in 92, 97, 202, 207, 2012, and 2017, you'll get an average of 75% of all elected leaders in Mount Kenya go home. And therefore, if we take 75% of the entire Kirinyaga elected leaders, the likelihood is that 90% of those who are present at Karen tomorrow are going to go home. And therefore, I'm looking at it this way, Bitok. Can we risk taking Girishi? Can they risk taking Girishi into a nomination with a person who is already entrusted with the same position she wants to vie for in 2022 without considering what is her performance? Because away from the cameras, because what we witnessed yesterday, it was purely for cameras. Take that to the bank. What are the people of Kirinyaga saying? And that brings me to the question and the problem I have with most of us who are supporting the deputy president, specifically those who have surrounded the DP. They do not want to hear numbers. And when you listen to numbers, they will tell you whether Waiguru is the right candidate to embrace. Because let's face it, those people who are at Wanguru Stadium during the Mashujaa Day celebration were vetted by the provincial administration. Nobody went to Wanguru Stadium without an invitation card. So there was a very serious vetting. So precisely you would think that those who attended were pro-government.
They were going to boo.
And they were going to boo the deputy president. But they did quite the opposite. They gave the deputy president a serious welcome. And for me, that is the reasoning where the deputy president should come from when embracing Waiguru and company. Do I really need Waiguru for me to get to the people of Kirinyaga? Do I really need Waiguru? What is the rating of Waiguru in Kirinyaga? How do you know the rating of Waiguru if you do not believe in numbers? You can only know the rating of Waiguru when you work numbers in Kirinyaga. Opinion polls. What is the rating of Girishi? And you see, let me tell you, the moment you ignore numbers, you end up choosing people who are darlings of the camera. But when you go back to the people, people do not want them.
But the people will decide. Let
me tell you, as my brother has said, whenever you hear a politician saying the people told me, it's shenanigans. It is idiocy of the highest order. How do you converge a meeting?
But you're also saying we listen to the people.
No, let me tell you. When you listen to the people will be saying we want so and so. It is not the other way around. That you'll be saying the people told me they want me, but wanataka mimi nihame Jubilee, niende UDA. No, it is the people of Kirinyaga who should be telling us, sisi tunataka Waiguru lakini chama chene yako lazima atoke. So when you hear somebody said, I reasoned, I consulted, including my son, including it's the biggest shenanigan people take. I mean, if I decide today I want to move from the Hustler Nation to another side, I just move. I don't need to explain myself. More explaining makes you even a good liar on camera. So my point is today we may be celebrating, and those in UDA may be celebrating that Waiguru has gone to UDA. And in fact, my brother alluded, I was very curious of that statement. Atinasikia watu wakisema, chama ni UDA, na mpango ni hustler. I mean, nasikia. Na plan ni bottom up. Nasikia, I am hearing. I mean, you are there to decamp from Jubilee to come to... I mean, I'm tempted to ask, is Waiguru coming to Hustler Nation with clean hands? That is the thing I want to ask myself. Because if you look at Kirinyaga politics, we have seen Wangui Ngirishi and the permanent secretary interior, Karanja Kebicho, trend the hashtag Kirinyaga Kwanza. Wamekuwa wakifanya kazi. Mtu anaitwa Waiguru is a governor today courtesy of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and Jubilee. Sasa hawa wote tena wamekuja wameingia UDA and they are there now. And that is the biggest headache for William Ruto. The balancing act of local politics in different counties. That would be the biggest headache. And if you ask me, Bitok, with all my honest submission, somebody should pull the plug on the DP to stop speaking about one political party. And I'll tell you one of the major fears I have as someone who is in Hustler Nation, and I also believe in numbers. Whenever the Honorable Raila Odinga is coming to Central Kenya or any other place, how many people here have heard Raila Odinga speak about political parties? Have you heard him speak about political parties? Because Raila Odinga understands the complex of local politics. He does not want to be part and parcel on local politics. He does not want to meddle on how local politics are adjusted in Central Kenya. And therefore, as long as
he knows he cannot tell ODM.
Let me tell you, I'm saying it's not about
Is
selling
anyone
ODM.
interested in
It's not
running
even
ODM?
about selling ODM. Raila Odinga is telling us, as long as you guys give me your vote for president, I don't give a damn whether you kill each other down there. I don't give a damn who you strangle to become the member of parliament. Bora wewe ukifika pale the other side, tutafanya kazi na wewe. And I'm telling you, that is something that is being done by a very experienced politician. And I will tell you, William Ruto, my presidential candidate, has to choose between the two. As much as a political party and the candidature are intertwined, one has to take precedence over the other. It is either you are marketing a political party or you are marketing your candidature. Because let me tell you, the moment you put political party at the pivot point of your campaign, you are sure to rub shoulders with people the wrong way. And I would think, for me, it is important for William Ruto to build UDA, I agree, because that is his main vehicle to the 2022. But his candidature takes precedence over a political party, because you need people more than you need a strong political party. And it's the reason why our Political Parties Act has provided either for pre-election coalition or post-election coalition, so that it can give you a soft landing. Even if I don't talk about my party much and I talk my candidature, there is always an opportunity for me to enter into a coalition agreement with somebody else. And I can say this without fear of contradicting myself. There is no single party in this republic that can rule this country alone. Take that to the bank.
All right. You are a candidate in Limuru constituency.
Yes, I am a candidate in Limuru constituency. And for your information, I am vying with CHAMA KAZI, and we already have another candidate in Limuru constituency that is interested in my party. And I have told my party leader, as much as I'm an official of the party, I am welcoming nominations. And you know, we are doing nominations a different way in this country. We have decided to go digital, and we will be using a USSD for nominations. We are currently building a very serious system, which is being tested as we speak, that we will be using a USSD code to vote, and our nomination will be real time. It will be online. If Bitok votes for me, hiyo kura inajiongeza kwa screen ukiona, to be real time. And the beauty about USSD is that the time we say stop the nomination, those results do not need to be announced. They will be very explicit. If you have lost, you will see. And tomorrow, if you think that somebody stole elections from you, there is what is called a forensic audit. It can show who voted for who at what time. And the reason why we have done that, we want to incorporate the so-called middle class that don't come out, trying out to vote. That in the comfort of your office, you can take a minute to vote for your candidate. And these are the things we would want to see other parties introduce. So that Bitok, how we have decided to do nominations, we are going to have HQs, county HQs. Wewe kama candidate, you will not be allowed to be on the ground on nomination day. Utakuwa umekaa hapo, wewe ukitaka kuwin election, if you want to build your popularity, train your young people to train your voters on how to vote. Sure. Even if they go to vote and to help your voters to vote for you is okay. Lakini wewe county yenu tukifanya nomination, all the candidates in those counties from the MCA all the way to the governor will be positioned in one place. Okay. So that is tukisema saa 11 simamisha uchaguzi. Whoever will be reading takes the nomination. And we have also said that if you are beyond 45 years, we will not give you a nomination ticket for the MCA seat. The reason we are doing that, we have two reasons why we are doing that. One, we want to encourage the competition for the MCA seat to be among peers, people of the same age. We also want to ensure that, as he has said about being 18, if you can vote, you can be voted in. We also want to ensure that if Bitok is 45 na ametafuta pesa, hata kuja kufinyilia vijana kwa sababu wako na pesa. Go compete against your peers. If you are below 45 na hukutafuta pesa mapema kwa maisha, you have a problem. That is a problem wewe utajifanya. But if you are 45, you will not get a nomination for MCA seat in chama cha KAZI. Number 2, if you are below 45 and you possess a degree, we will not charge you nomination fee. Because we also want to encourage a good leadership. We are not saying that we are not locking out those without degrees. We are just saying, so that your degree can count, we will not charge you nomination fee because you have gone to school and you have gotten a degree. That is one way of encouraging more young people with degrees to come and join politics, because we also need quality MCAs in the county assemblies. Hatutaki ma MCA to external travels na ma workshops. Tunataka MCAs, quality MCAs who can come and make changes in the county assemblies. Right. So therefore, we are pulling a fast every day. We will continue building that party. And I will also say this, that as much as we are saying that we would require people to come into a coalition, unless people come to us asking for coalitions with Chama cha KAZI, we are concentrating on building our party. Our party leader has made it clear he is not going to vie for any political position in 2022. Ideally, he has been an MP for 9 years in Gatundu, and when I converse with him, he tells me, in 9 years, I have done pretty much everything I would have done for the people of Gatundu South. It is now paramount for me to start passing that knowledge to young people. Right. And I can only do that when I am not concentrating on my own political seat and help young people build a legacy tomorrow. And I'll tell young people, you don't need to be 60 to start building a legacy. You can start creating a legacy right now. Okay.
All right. There's a question for you here. And I also have a question for you. See, yes. You're a candidate in Limuru constituency.
Yes.
Under Chama cha KAZI.
Yes.
If I look at your profile is Chama cha KAZI. It's not your aspirations in Limuru constituency. So you are selling the party first. Now there's a question from Mafani here. I was trying to load, but I think the comments are delaying. If you can see on your end. Is Chama cha KAZI not risking losing you by subjecting you to nominations?
You see, let me tell you, the reason why I have invested seriously on this party, because I believe in the mandate of the party.
Because I'm also the person is asking in contrast of what you've said about Ngirishi and Waiguru in Kirinyaga.
Yes. So this is the point. This is the point, and I'm saying that we have invited those who are. In fact, today or tomorrow there will be a third candidate from Limuru constituency interested in the tickets for Chama cha KAZI. And ideally, what we will do just before we do the nomination, we also conduct what is called the baseline polls within Limuru constituency, and if I am popular enough as I claim to be. I do not need to fear anybody in our party's nomination. Why? Because our nomination, as you have heard, it is through USSD. It is through a method that is clear, a method that is void of EU kora ya nomination ya kuiba kura kwenda nazo. So when I am subjecting myself into a nomination, I'm subjecting myself into a nomination because I believe in the nomination process of CHAMA cha KAZI that will be above board. The reason why I would say in UDA for Waigoro and Girishi there will be a problem because we will use the same conserved method of doing nomination where you will hear that point B got 20 ballots and point A had 500 ballots. So I am not afraid of anybody. In fact, it is part of building this party that despite me being an executive within the party, we have given everybody an opportunity to come to the party. If by any chance we do nomination and there is a candidate that is going to beat me, Bitok, we are a very liberal party. We will accept. I will accept.
So how different is that from Kirinyaga?
That's what I'm telling. In Kirinyaga, you will be taking ballots by nduthi or by vehicle, and utasikia pahali kwa mfano usikie Dhifa ballots zilikuwa chache, zilikuwa 200 ama zimepotea. Halafu usikie Kagio there was excess of ballots. So we are saying hii ukora hiyo ya nomination hiyo ndio the difference between CHAMA cha KAZI and UDA, because I will tell you the reason why I know they will use that process.
But do you know the strategy of UDA yet? Maybe
yeah,
they
but
also
let me tell you, Bitok. Let me tell you, Bitok. Hold you. I'm not a member, but I know they will use that. Why? Okay. About 3 weeks ago, or 3 or 4 weeks ago, the IEBC and the Register of Political Party required every party to surrender their nomination rules with the political party at Westlands. So every party surrendered their nomination rules that they intend to use in 2022. Okay. We are the only people who surrendered nomination rules that includes USSD voting system. Okay. The rest of the parties, including UDA, surrendered the same old system of doing nominations. That is how I know that is the process they will use, because it is the process they have surrendered to the Register of Political Parties. So therefore, hata kama kuna candidate mwingine huko Walimuru anataka kuingia chama cha KAZI, akuje tumenyane. If you outdo me, which I think it's not something I foresee, but if the worst happens, I am ready to support my CC.
Sasa watu kila mtu akaribishane. Watu kila mtu akaribishe kwao.
Yes.
Usiseme kwa nini mimi nakaribisha wageni kwangu. Wewe karibisha wako. Ama namna gani wewe?
But you see, Bitok.
Anataka kwa nasema kwa nini unakaribisha wageni kwako?
No, but you see, Bitok, you cannot have the cake and eat it because you have asked for my opinion concerning Kirinyaga.
No, you are being tackled. You are being tackled.
Godfrey Kimathi. I love the tackle.
Godfrey Kimathi was tackling.
I know. Let me tell you, if there are people with respect and we have been here doing this for some time, it is those people who watch us. They tackle us kabisa, and I will tell them the difference between my situation and that of Kirinyaga is the nomination process.
All right. So as we went up on that conversation on Kirinyaga, now on the national platform, because these guys, the lady has been a member of ODM. Not ODM, Anshek Party of Kenya, or Anshek Government of Kenya. She's been there and she was welcomed. She was sanitized. In fact, she was cleansed there. Now, ni mweupe kama pamba. Now she's clean. And she has been hanging around. She participated in by-elections, ODM by-elections in Kibra. She's been in BBI, selling BBI agenda. She was part of the people running the BBI agenda. What effects does this have on the political, national political landscape, Wakili?
I think other than adding perception value for the DP, I don't think whether she's bringing any vote value for the DP. I think in the Mount Kenya, DP zile kula zenye konazo yeye mwenyewe ameweza kujitafutia. Like my colleagues have mentioned, DP has been there for 9 years. I normally say that the deputy president is a very smart and shrewd politician. Wakati walichukua serikali 2013, he was able to start strategizing. Just like Moses Kuria. Unajua tunasema mgala muwe lakini hakimpe. Pia Moses Kuria is a good political strategy. We can spend hours and days debating or whether he's presidential or not, but in terms of those two being shrewd and being political strategies, you need to give to them. For Madam Anne Waiguru, tukua pale kotini wakati tunaandika zile witness statement wakati ajali la happen. Witness anakuambia before ajali happen gari ilianza kutingika. Juu aliona madimu hivyo giza before an accident. So whatever she has done is what I would call a political accident. To some extent ukiangalia ile statement ya Madam Girishi jana alisema pia tukienda zile nomination, let's compare even loyalty. To some extent, if loyalty will be practiced during the nomination of UDA in 2022, what will be the chances of Madam Anne Waiguru kuchukua hiyo nomination? Na akikosa hiyo nomination hiyo 2022, what will be her political relevance as he mentioned yesterday? Those are the two issues. Secondly, we must also look at this one. Ukiangalia, if whatever is told on what happened on Jubilee nomination, inagonga ile Friday wakati watu wa media wamegojea, ikakuwa postpone, DP akaambiwa ende ashike sukali pale Pangani. Then there are claims that that's how most of the people got now. Hapo ndio msumeno yao ilifika. So if the same that will happen, if the same is to be practiced, what will akisha lose ile itakuwa nini? But on the national value, remember she was still the probably member and founder ile a brisk handshake. Yes. Ile ya women. But on the platform, other than bringing
other daughters of the mountain,
na wale daughters of mountain, I think kila mtu ako nayo hiyo ile daughters and sons, you know, these are just rubbish. Scholars they are other strugglers. These are not formidable.
Was that Brian Weke is a struggler?
They don't have structure. Hata mimi saizi naweza jipa
kwanza Freddy Kokango na alikuwa member wa hii panel. Shame on you.
So I'll tell you Mr. Bitok, on the national value he only made news, and you know in Kenya when I make news 3 days, tomorrow you don't know who will defect in Aisha.
All right.
So it's inasaidia to
talk about defection. Jubilee, you are a member of Jubilee Party.
Yeah.
Or if you are not, then you are a defender of Jubilee Party. Why are people leaving Jubilee Party? I remember when members were being kicked out, they said, this is our party, we met this party. But why is it that now the party is becoming a shell? Nimeona pia kuna jamaa anaitwa sijui wa jungle. Nasikia anaama pia. Why are people moving out of Jubilee Party?
I'll tell you a bit talk, and this one will be a bit pragmatic, is that in Kenya and in Africa, we don't have parties as institution. We have parties as owned by individuals. And most of the parties in Kenya, they are what we call special purpose vehicle. So I think for Jubilee as a special purpose vehicle, it achieved what it was able to achieve. I think it has also lost a lot of ground kule Mount Kenya. I can tell you, because of the popularity that MK has, his party come 22 could be popular. Hata saizi inaweza kuwa iko popular sana kuliko Jubilee. But at the end of the day, I think Jubilee achieved what it was meant to achieve. And there is also very pertinent issue. I think the owners or the manufacturers of Jubilee are also now ready to bring it down. And you know, saa zingine hakuna haja ya kushughulika nayo. They achieve what they wanted. And secondly, and I don't know whether I'll mention this, you know, there are a lot of money that wamekuwa wakilili huko. So wakati kuna hizi audit za magavana, unasikia EACC ama auditor anaenda huko, they do the best you do na choma so that some document disappear. So to have some things disappear than those things, what you want to do is to bring the house down. So I think that's what revolving with Jubilee.
Hata wewe utazima light.
Please, my friend, learn to respect the dead.
Wewe utazima light. ODWEYO. What does it mean for the political alignment? Because now the politics are entering to a point, to a place of alignments now. Where our politics is going towards January is a place where we're going to get national alignments as we move forward. We're going to know who has the weight, who doesn't. And all this, you cannot narrate Waiguru. You know, give it or take it. You cannot narrate as someone who is not going to mobilize votes. You know, and the most interesting thing about votes is that, and politics of this country, when you are with me, I'm happy, and they're saying, ODWEYO, kiboko yao. But the moment you leave, like, ODWEYO hata ananga kitu, and the border. So you cannot narrate Waiguru as such. So what does it mean on the tilting scale on national politics?
You see, what you just said about ODWEYO ako sawa na is like a case of ile unatafuta dem kabisa. Then anakataa, then hata huyo. Hata huyo alikuwa. You know those kind of?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, to understand the value of Waiguru, you need to understand the history of Waiguru. Waiguru alitoka wapi? From the Minister of Finance.
Alikuwa na anko kabisa.
Akitoka minister, ilikuwa IMF before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alafu ujue unakumbuka Waiguru alikuwa part ya, do you remember that budget Uhuru presented when being the Minister of Finance that had a typo?
A typo ya 9 billion.
You remember Waiguru was still in finance.
So you need to understand the history of Waiguru. She was part of the team typo. Then from there she became the CS. We all know what happened. We all know how she became the CS. Then from there, Waiguru is someone I consider was imposed on the people of Kirinyaga by Jubilee. And those are some of the failures of Jubilee that I count as a person. Because these were special projects. You see, in 2017, there were a lot of special projects. And any serious and honest political analyst or someone who is conscious will tell you, Waiguru was one of those projects. So to me, I wouldn't say that there is much that Waiguru can, apart from the hype. Because there's always that hype, like you said, you know, the media, mainstream media in Kenya is lazy. And that's why we like places like the Tackle, where we can discuss real issues without censorship. You know, people like Waiguru are people who have been ferried from one station to another. So when they are on this side, they will be celebrated when they cross over. So as a person, apart from it's called? The sensational Matrix, the Warembo Nanini and all those things. I don't think there is much that she can bring. Because she's in between. Now, Akiyumba Yumba, she was in between Uhuru Kenyatta, who I believe made her, and William Ruto, whom she was considering the future. So it's a case of someone who is married, but she's thinking about leaving this person who has been with her for all that time and immensely contributed to who she is today, and wants to go into someone based on the potential of that person to become what she thinks is better than her current situation. So at the end of the day, you realize that, to me, those are things that will fizzle out. Like I told you, there is one called Uhuru Kenyatta, the president, once said, nitasema kitu, he said somewhere, nitasema kitu, itashtua watu.
My choice.
I think I've previously, I didn't have much, I didn't put much weight to that. But I think from what I've seen happening, from the way things have been going, I've realized that thing is going to swing the politics of 2022. So at the moment, we cannot just celebrate people like Waiguru for jumping. Personally, if I was a Mount Kenya resident or voter or a UDA supporter, I will be very keen on what people like Moses Kuria are doing, what people like Martha Karua are doing. Those organizations, as a person from my little political experience and exposure, I will tell you, those arrangements of the MKs carry more weight than those sensational defections. Because he mentioned, and people need to understand, that you may have vocal people, you may have people who because of party sensations have played victim and they sound famous. But the dynamics of the mountain are not just a child's play that someone will pop up today from, let's say, Nyeri, and then think that he will control Kiambu. The mountain is a very dynamic political block that requires beyond the horizon analysis before you can heap any praise on Waiguru. Like he said, she will be history very soon. Okay. And that's why I told you the best thing I would have done if I was Waiguru is to take a sabbatical, use my position as a governor, even abuse it to get to the people. Take projects to the people. Go there, meet the people to us as a governor, not as a UDA or a Jubilee. Just focus on that. Make people forget. Like he said, you see, you need to balance between you as a candidate and the party. And when, like in the mountain, when you find yourself in a situation where you're dangling between Jubilee and UDA, be very careful, because this game of Jubilee and UDA is going to crush so many people in the mountain. And that's why you find people like Moses Kuria just creating an alternative path that he will stay away from that antagonism. Because at the moment, the truth is there's a war between Jubilee and UDA. And in the mountain, that is sibling rivalry, which is very dangerous in a family. And when you find that the siblings are fighting, it crashes the family. That's the fate that is going to face majority of the people, the majority of the incumbents in Mount Kenya, especially as we await the declaration of the president. And then there's that the much awaited Limuru declaration that at the end of the day is being championed by now people who are purely Mount Kenya interested people that, in my opinion, I would say are more aligned to the dynamics of the mountain than the Waigurus.
Okay. All right. When you talk about my choice will shock many, you see back in 2018, the my choice will shock many would have been President Uhuru Kenyatta supporting Raila Odinga. That would have been shocking. But now the shock has changed. These days it's almost clear that the president is supporting Raila Odinga. If you ask anybody in the street, you'll be like, we know we'll support Raila Odinga. So the shock would be the president supporting William Ruto or someone else, maybe Mudavadi. I don't think it's still shocking for President Uhuru Kenyatta to say I'm supporting Raila Odinga. But with that said, Muchendu, does all these dynamics tilt the national scale?
I would say this, just to touch on the mountain politics. As much as I'm not a big fan of the president, and then everybody out there who is watching knows that I'm not a big fan of the president, but I have always believed that the president has that percentage that is fanatic followers, that are fanatic followers of the president. They would do anything not because they have studied it, not because they understand it. They would do anything because the president said it. And that is also something you cannot just wish away. He is the chief executive officer of the republic. I still await to see that thing that would amuse me. And I would tell people, don't rule out the fact that he can pull one on us, because he's a student of St. Mary's. And student of St. Mary's and PR, they go hand in hand. So he's an expert of PR. If anybody saw how he and his team turned the Hague into a presidential campaign that could not be overturned by anybody, that tells you that he is a PR expert, and he has hoodwinked us twice through PR, and actually thrice through PR. Some of us voted him thrice through PR. So I still expect that probably he's still holding a card in the chest. Let's wait and see. But I will say this, Uhuru is not your kawaida president retiring. People must understand this. When in the history of Kenya, the Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, the first president, died, and Moi took over. When Moi retired in 2002, he retired an old man. He retired a man who had lost influence on the politics of Kenya. So he went home and retired peacefully. When Kibaki retired, Kibaki did not involve himself in the politics of 2013. He simply I don't remember Kibaki endorsing anybody for 2013. So he quietly retired, because you remember he was battling old age, and you remember he had an accident just before he became the president. So he had no time to involve himself with the politics of the day. Uhuru is going to retire even before he hits 61. He is a very young man, according to the Kieleweke bloggers, too young
to retire.
You've
also joined
no. I say Uhuru must go to retire. But I quit President Uhuru's plan for 2022 with that of Tanzania's Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete. Most people do not understand that Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete still calls the shot at CCM. Chama cha Mapinduzi in Tanzania, he has ensured that the current president of Tanzania, she's called who, I can't remember, Suruhu. The current president of Tanzania will not be the presidential candidate for CCM in the next election. That is Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, who retired from being president, but is still calling the shots on how that country is run. Now, a bit of a difference between Tanzania and Kenya is that CCM is a seasoned party that has been there for a very long time. On the other hand, Uhuru, as much as he would want to have a say on, because let me tell you, how do you protect your legacy as a president? You can protect this in two ways. One, you can mold people who are behind you to actually continue with your legacy when you leave. On the other hand, you can just retire as the president but sit back like that person who controls, what do you call them? These things we control with threads. Puppets. You sit back, yes, you sit back and you start controlling those people in government like you are controlling puppets. And I think for me, one of the things Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete never put into action was that he did not expect John Pombe Magufuli to overshadow his legacy. And therefore, Uhuru Kenyatta, his major problem, as much as he would want to control who comes after him so that he can have his legacy continue, has a problem because, one, his party died. And we actually buried it, but we hear they keep saying they want a warrant
to... MWANGI are doing a mouth-to-mouth.
No, not mouth-to-mouth. Reason. Jubilee died, we buried it, they are now trying to get a ticket or a warrant to go and exhume Jubilee from where we put the remains so that they can study what... Actually, the only thing they can do is post-mortem on what happened, how did Jubilee die, what was the causal organism of this death. That is the only thing those people trying to resurrect Jubilee can do. And that is the major mistake Uhuru did. And Uhuru feels that William Ruto has presented a model that is completely going to overshadow his legacy as a person. And therefore he feels, I need to put someone there who is does not have a vision that can go beyond what I have done. Because I have seen in, was it Raila Odinga was in Harambee Juzi, was it Nyamira? If I can't remember. It was in Nyamira. Raila Odinga had to be given some time so that he can be able to stretch and be able to come and address the crowd. I'm even told by a friend of mine who is a crucial associate of ODM that every time Raila Odinga is gearing to come and speak to the crowd, there has to be someone telling people to simame, to stretch, but majorly not because people were tired. It is an opportunity to give Raila to be able to stretch and be able to stand and address the crowd. That is the kind of person Uhuru wants to succeed him, so that he does not overshadow his so-called legacy. So therefore, Uhuru is not doing this blind rabbit talk. And I don't want to blame anything on Uhuru. Uhuru is not your typical Kibaki. You know, there were 3 people who were very powerful during Kibaki's regime. There was somebody called Professor Nico Anjohi. There was somebody called Governor Kiraito Murungi. And there was that state house controller whose Kibaki's wife refused to grate. Alikuwa anaitwa aje? Matere Kireri. These were people who were every time Kibaki wanted to make decisions, these are people he would consult. Uhuru is not Kibaki. Anything that has gone wrong with Jubilee is squarely blamed on Uhuru Kenyatta. Anything that is happening behind the back doors of Jubilee and the government, it is squarely Uhuru Kenyatta. And therefore, I don't think that Uhuru is just about ready to give it in. He has tasted the power, and you see in the history of Kenya, he is the only president who has won combat as the head of and the commander of the armed forces mostly. So that power is to someone. And I think for me, as you have said, Uhuru is still within the matrix of 2022. You cannot rule him out.
You know, Bitoka, I'll tell you, wakati moja alikuwa natoka 2002, he mentioned that KANU will rule for 100 years. And people forgot that KANU was a political incubator. And even the current politician, the Rutos, the Uhurus, and the Raila are offsprings. When President Uhuru Kenyatta was forming TNA in around 2010 there, aliandika kwa gazeti ya The Star kuwa KANU was a sinking ship. Na sasa hizi unaona KANU imeanza kujiamsha. KANU fresh looked very strong. In fact, it's the only party that has a candidate. Others are aspirant.
Which candidate? But the candidates
No,
we are being flagged by fellow candidates.
Whichever way you look it from a different angle, let's give the devil its due. He's the only candidate for now. Even William Ruto is an aspirant. He's aspiring to be the candidate of UDA, a candidate of UDA. That's the first thing. Alafu Bitoka ukiangalia pale kwa Kikuyu kuna ile mmea tunasema John Mwekuithia. Kwanza inakufa kidogo alafu inaamuka. Sasa Jubilee Party, as much as many people are saying that they buried it and you didn't see the obituary or the other thing, I want to tell you it could be metamorphosizing into something very big and most of its offsprings including myself, let's tupata sisi pale 2022 sisi tunaamua.
And this is what is interesting is you know what I find so interesting and quite amazing is that Jubilee members have been swallowed by ODM. Now when you find Jubilee members, they are singing more ODM songs than Jubilee songs. Interestingly, I'm seeing bloggers who are in Jubilee now, they are selling they are sitting down with Raila, they're having tea and they're selling ODM agenda. So I don't know whether he said it's John Mugathi.
you know let me just to interject in the US I don't know whether that laws applies here. In the US you can be able to open a shell company and no I'm just saying you can be able to open a shell company probably in the Cayman Islands where once you make money in your trading company in America you can then move money from that company to that shell company. Now Jubilee, just to be fair to them, you know, if he says, if I am offending him by saying Jubilee is dead, I can say, substitute that word and say that Jubilee is a shell of its former self. Okay. Because who is Jubilee? I keep asking people that. Who is Jubilee? Yes, who is Jubilee? Can I tell you, my friend? Jubilee is as good as those people who formed it. Those people who marketed it. Who are the people who started marketing Jubilee? The Moses Kuria of today with Bele Ikosawa. They were kicked out. The former majority leader in the Senate, Kipchumba, kicked out. Kina Senator of Tharaka Nithi, kicked out. Kina Isaac Mwaura, kicked out. I am telling you that you cannot tell me an existence of Jubilee when the people who are at the formation stage, Kina Kiraito Murungi, who was the chair of the committee that brought together and killed those parties to form Jubilee, the chairman of that committee that formed the Jubilee Party, Kiraito Murungi, you remember he did a 3-page or a 4-page story on the dairies on Jubilee. And he said, we must allow Jubilee to rest in peace. And that is the chairman of the committee that formed Jubilee. How can offsprings like this one try to tell us that Jubilee is still breathing when the people who fathered it have witnessed its death and its burial?
You know, yes, people mourn differently. Yes. People mourn differently.
So the offsprings are just trying to get a warrant from the court to exhume the body and understand how it died.
Let me tell you, Mr. Bitok.
Yes.
Kiraito Murungi kwa hiyo interview yake, he mentioned a very key important thing. And that will tell you the offspring of Jubilee are still alive. And they will come to haunt any other person who is saying that Jubilee is dead. He mentioned that the expiration of the parties as it was informed Jubilee ilikuwa ilaisha 16th of September. And he said that they are buying tires and painting the bus. Bus itakuwa inaitwa Devolution Empowerment Party. And that party will be very key and very strategic in 2022. So whether Jubilee is dead, whether we are still having its ghost, the truth is the offsprings. Forget about the Jubilee itself and the owners. The offspring will still play a very key role come 2022.
The offsprings will spring.
Can I also jump in and also, you know, this sibling, right?
Very quickly, yes.
Let me try to mediate.
You manage them.
Between these brothers, from the same mother, not even different mothers. No, like he said, what was Jubilee? I always say Jubilee was William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta. If you look at these two people in 2013, Uhuru Kenyatta was just this charming guy. Uhuru Kenyatta was not a mobilizer. The mobilizer, the key mobilizer for Jubilee was William Ruto. And that's why on most occasions, if you are to be very keen on how Jubilee grew and even most of the campaigns, you will realize that the front runner was Ruto and possibly that wing of. So politics, in a political party, you might have resources, you might have systems, you might have structures, but if you don't have mobilizers and a mobilizer, and that's why I always tell people, give the devil his dues. That's what has kept ODM afloat. Because ODM is led by a mobilizer. I think I can call him the strongest mobilizer alive today. He knows how to play that game. So when Jubilee now, the person who was not, the less a mobilizer, personally I always believe Uhuru came with the system, Ruto came with the mobilization. When they kicked out the mobilizer, then we were left with the system.
The system became an orphan.
Now, you see, the system alone cannot survive in a political environment. I'm telling you for free. And that's why politics, when we talk of, you can have resources, but you don't have, if you don't have ideas that you can use to mobilize people, if you don't have those strategies and all that stuff, you cannot win. And that's what led to the collapse of Jubilee. And that's why when UDA started, even before UDA started, there was that traction towards the deputy, the threats and everything notwithstanding. I always tell people you can take away everything from the right honorable, but his history and mobilization ability, you can take away everything from the deputy president, but that man has energy. That man is very intentional in everything he does. That man is committed to whatever cause he chooses. You may not like it, but once he makes a decision, that's what makes him stand above the president in terms of political ability and mobilization. And that's why when this man was kicked out with his team, that's how Jubilee died. And at the moment, someone will tell you that about that tree that is dying so that it can survive.
Okay.
Remember something.
but let's face it.
Let's have hope in the roots, because they say that as long as a tree is still, still on the ground.
No. I still want to tell, there is no way Jubilee can have offspring. These are the people who just came together and got married. They are tired of each other. They have divorced. And anybody expecting divorcees to come together is not thinking clearly. Because you see, when you hear Kilaito Murungi saying he is going to resurrect the Mbas, and somebody else will resurrect his, then you cannot talk about Jubilee. You can only talk about a party that has disintegrated, a party that is now a shell of its former self. And I will say this, and the reason why I think the people pushing the deputy president to add to a one-party system are misreading the deputy president. Today, the deputy president is considered by those in government as a persona non grata. The reason why he finds himself in that precarious position today, it is because he folded his party. Uhuru folded TNA, Kiraito folded BAS and everything, and they formed Jubilee. But the same culprit that were in charge of TNA and BAS and other things also took over Jubilee. And therefore, William Ruto found himself in a position where he does not have control over Jubilee Party. And because of this one party called Jubilee, those who took over the leadership of Jubilee have made sure that they are trying to struggle the life out of the deputy president. And then somebody in his right mind is advising the deputy president, let's push a one-party system. When we remember how Jubilee has become a monster that has struggled life out of many, eaten its own children. Mwaura, the senator, And I see Mwaura cheering, forming UDA as one system, and I look at him and I ask myself, does Senator Isaac Mwaura understand himself? He is a casualty and a victim of that one party called Jubilee. How can you cheer formation of another single party that will come and eat other more victims? Let me tell you, there are so many politicians in Central Kenya, and I say this without fear, including my former member of parliament, Limuru, Engineer John Kiragu, who did not deserve to go home. But because of the debacle at the nominations of Jubilee, they found themselves in another corner. And unfortunately, for those people in Mount Kenya who are waiting for a wave, as long as we do not have a presidential candidate in the mountain, there will not be a wave of one party in Mount Kenya like it was in 2017. And therefore, that is why he has said the Moses Kurias of today, the Kinjuris of today, the Mother Karuas of today, Muturi has formerly now taken over the leadership of Democratic Party, which was my first party when I joined politics. These people, they are trying to run away from the fight between the people who are yet to come to terms with the death of Jubilee and those in UDA. Because what we are seeing surely, how can a party be serious that is planning to make Kanini Kega Secretary General? God help us. How do you go around Mount Kenya and the nation and you see the only rightful person to replace Raphael Tuju is Kanini Kega? Kanini Kega by all means is just a psychophant. I mean, he is one person who has not read the budget committee the way it's supposed to do. I mean, the reason you understand before Jubilee died, it suffered a mental disease. It is where you saw Jubilee praising Kimani Ichung'wah with Kanini Kega as the chair of budget. It is where you see Jubilee now wants to give Kanini Kega the position of Secretary General and said away to you. I mean, how do you learn away from the pan and you end up in the fire itself? So I would practically say this, that if anybody wants peace in the mountain, as much as, and this is what, even if you look at the numbers my party leader released yesterday, they still show that William Ruto is still the favorite candidate in Central Kenya. But that does not translate in him having the authority or the leeway to control what happens down here. Okay. And if he indulges himself in the local, the other 2017 he was the deputy president. The person whose back stopped that was Uhuru Kenyatta. So whether people say he meddled with the nomination of 2017 in the mountain or not, it is neither here nor there for me. But if he pushes the agenda of wanting UDA to be the only party in the mountain Kenya, he is planning and he is awaking the ghosts of 2017. Which had so many politicians lose their seats, not because they did not work, not because they did not do their homework, but because of the debacle that is the 2017 Jubilee nomination. So I would say, William Ruto, my friend, my presidential candidate, concentrate on your candidature more than you are concentrating on the party.
All right. Okay. Now, as we are towards the general elections, the biggest fear that has been out here has been the credibility of the elections. And people have been throwing in speculations on every appointment that happens. First, it was IBC. The commissioners were put there. People are like, oh, maybe some people have been put here to control the vote. The other day, Ezra Chiloba, who was the IBC CEO, was appointed the DG, Communication Authority. And barely a month in the office, he has already told us that 224 polling stations will not be able to transmit election results digitally. And the Lord is good because there's no network. How do you make of this, Wakile, from a point where we're already worried about credible elections?
I think, and we mentioned the other time when we were here, that his appointment and of that of some other two guys was very suspicious. We say that in politics, there is more than meet the eye. I gave the classic example of what happened DRC Congo with Joseph Kabila, in him wanting to extend his presidential term. Nakumbuka alisema kuwa there was no enough money to conduct the election. The donors tried to fund the election, and he still blocked them. akakataa kabisa. Ukiangalia kama Guruziza, he staged a coup against himself just to accuse his opponent. So there will be a lot of things that will be happening before 2022. There will be even vote apathy. There will be many, but all these are strategies. And I normally tell people that the biggest factor in politics is the unpredictability part of it. For sure, saizi yakula ule candidate akoshua anaenda kuile 100%. Secondly, even the people who are obsessed with party, may it be ODM, Jubilee, UDOL, CHAMA cha KAZI, should be reminded that Kibaki remained with the partyless until 2 months prior to election. So tuleza sema mambo bado hayajajipanga. So there will be a lot of things. Hata saizi ukiangalia, like I had an opportunity to meet the chairman IEBC. And the biggest discussion we had is the vote apathy that is going on in Mount Kenya. Saizi Mount Kenya wameregister 1.2%. Again, still ilikuwa expected 1.4 million. And you know, for now, because of funding yenye wamepoa kidogo, they will be able to conduct MVL1 and MVL2, mass voter registration. What they are having is what we call enhanced continuous voter registration. Like ishaisha tarehe 2 imeisha. So there will be a lot of issues, and I'll tell you for sure, depending on where the system, and the other time you refused me to mention the deep state, will be having its card. Ikiamua pale Mount Kenya ione hakuna popularity, there will be many other strategies, including voter apathy, and you'll be very shocked. Where that network or internet was very strong in Mount Kenya, utasikia 2022, now the dynamics, ime-exchange la Turukana ama Nyanza, where now kupeleka vote, ama your internet ilikuwa very low. So there will be many strategies. Depending, we normally say that in politics, they are the owners of capitals and the earners of wages. So that war between the mainstream political class and on what I would call the masses in Mount Kenya will come into play, and of course in terms of influencing or determining who will be the president come 2022.
Okay, all right. How do you make of it today? The point where everybody is worried. In fact, now Mushendu is saying we're doing elections by USSD to ensure that it's clear and accountable. What do you make of this?
You know, before the appointment of Chiloba, there was another controversial appointment of James Muhati, the former ICT director who was kicked out before Musando stepped in. Was kicked out suspended by Chiloba to be in charge of Huduma. Now, we are in the information era where the greatest asset is data. Now we have two very controversial men. By all means, especially on matters of election, one running the now illegal Huduma project, and another one running the Communications Authority. And my first question I want to ask is, so there was this research that was done that had already said that 224 stations will not be able to transmit data. So they were just waiting for him to come in so that he can announce the results. Because if you come in 1 month, what was the basis of this announcement, especially now? We have always had these slogans about Twaweza. What is Twaweza? Twaweza kuinua kufika kila mahali nchi ya Kenya. Why is it that there's always a network issue?
We have only to fix the network issue.
We have 5 years. 5 years to fix it. Now Chiloba comes and tells us this. Now, you know, as we move forward, more maybe increased. So at the moment, Kenyans have a right to be worried. Why? Because you see, I was one of the people who are against BBI. And I'm among the champions of Punguza Mzigo as an alternative for BBI. There was money for BBI. BBI was fully funded, reggae inazidi, you know. But when it comes to voter registration, now we are being told there will be 3. There are 3 kids per, then they'll be rotated. Ordinarily, we are used to a situation where polling registration clerks are permanently stationed in each center conveniently. And when it's 30 days, you have someone every day. And we go to a point where there are times when they go to, based on the dynamics of the places, they may go to different places. Like, for example, in Nairobi, you may not force the people of Muthurwa to come to Moi Avenue Primary. So you may have to have stations there and move to different locations. So can you imagine, Gerald, we are in a country where there is money for BBI. But there's no money to register voters. That's the first thing. Before we even start discussing voter apathy, we need to understand why are we not prioritizing elections?
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, I say this, and it's a fact. The core civic duty of any citizen is to choose their leader. Because that's where life starts and life ends. I have written about this. The leader you choose is the leader that will determine where you are born, how you are born, where you are buried, and how you are buried. Forget about education, health, security. Those are in-betweens. Because this person will make a policy that will tax the dead. We have seen those things. So when we have such leaders, and we have an institution that is supposed to ensure that as many people are, one, included into that system, and then two, they are enlightened on their role and how to execute their role so that we get the right people in offices, then that's where our electoral fraud starts from. And that's why I've always opined this way. What is our maturity age in Kenya? 18. We say once someone turns 18, they are supposed to automatically qualify to be a voter. Why do you need a voter's card? Why do we need to create another expensive exercise that needs a database that needs someone to manage away from our database of IDs? Why do we have to spend money to register people who are already qualified by the Constitution to undertake that role? What privilege are they trying to purport to sell to us by telling us that you must register as a voter for you to vote? And yet, you, as an adult, you have that duty constitutionally. So that's where the fraud comes in. Because what you do is create an alternative system that is easier to manipulate and control politically. You are talking about commissioners. There were red flags. Since 2018, 2019, those vacancies have been open. Why weren't they filled up? At the moment, we don't have a CEO. Why is he not there? We want to pop in someone at the last minute to serve specific interests. And that's why I always say, when it comes to elections, there's a way we always plan to fail. We have so many reports, we have so many recommendations, but we always deliberately plan to fail. How? By ensuring that we don't have people in place. 2, we don't have the resources. And then 3, we don't put in place the measures to ensure that elections and electoral practices are tamper-proof. Because the first thing you need to look at, and I'll use this example. For us to get the leaders that we want, we talk of this thing called democracy. But democracy, to most Kenyans, especially politicians, is about having a lot of political parties. I want a system led by the so-called IBC to have a system that ensures we transfer that democracy to the people, so that the people own that right to be democratic and exercise it constitutionally. So at the moment, I'm one of those people who is very worried about the credibility and ability of IEBC, because at the end of the day, some of the commissioners, their terms in office will end in September next year. What if what if there's a rerun? What will happen after 90 days? These are things we know. And that's why sometimes I also blame the IEBC itself. Because you realize that even Chebukati, with 3 commissioners, is comfortable just continuing like there's no problem. Why don't you as a commission also ensure that you are sufficiently resourced? As a parliament, why don't you ensure that IEBC have these people in place? So at the end of the day, you realize that these are deliberate attempts to ensure that there are few people who control this system. And like I had mentioned before, there was the system side of Jubilee. And I was telling someone, it looks like a joke, but it's the truth. Do you know that at the moment there are people who are hawking, I call it hawking the IBC password to the highest bidder? When people go for interviews, you know, they are trying to look at the most suitable to take your interest. And I understand politics is about interest. To ensure that you are able to control whoever comes in and get what you want, you must have something that will equate to what I call, if I can get power without you, Gerald, why should I share power with you? Why do I need you to get that power? That is what is happening at the moment. And there are those dynamics that are largely domiciled at IEBC. Okay. And that's where you realize some of
so unaona kuna kamchezo?
Iko mchezo. Na sasa unajua ukishaekwa baba wa mchezo. You know, this a guy, you know, the problem, the tragedy in Kenya is that this guy was fired because of a monumental malpractice in the Republic. And then now he's being put into even a higher office than what he was holding in regards to elections. This is the point where I don't want to... The citizens, we've made our mistakes. But at the end of the day, when are we as a country going to hold electoral criminals accountable? When a Supreme Court or a court declares or nullifies an election, it means there is someone, number one, an official of the IEBC that committed an offense by omission or commission. When are we going to hold these people accountable? The other day, BBI was thrown out. We have spent money. Who is going to refine this money? At the point where we get to a point where we've sent public money, why don't we get to a point where we find ways of recovering, especially on elections? At the moment, we are headed for another tragedy. A very big one, Gerald, more than what we had in 2017.
All right. Any monkey games?
I think enough said on IEBC and those political parties, but I also have an issue with the government, specifically with the Kuli Attorney as the CS for the Treasury Department for not allocating IEBC enough money. As much as we would want to squarely blame the IEBC, as we are talking right now, we are just 1 week away from completing the ongoing voter registration, and IEBC has alluded to the fact that they have no money to conduct another registration. But we were very ready to dish out money for referendum, money for those things. Why can't we take the election seriously with the seriousness they should? When you hear Chiroba says that there is over 240 stations that cannot transmit results because of poor network, why wouldn't we have the government, the communication, he is now in communication authority. Yes. Why can't government in communication authority allocate more money to make sure that those stations get network adaptation? And it's also a very big concern that Chiroba, who is associated with the 2017 general election, which had a rerun, is now in charge of the communication authority that is going to oversee the transmission of results.
Kuna kipindi.
Hapo kuna kipindire, and it needs to be looked. How do we get someone who was also associated with the debacle of 2017 to be the person in charge of Huduma? Thank God the courts have ruled Huduma to be unconstitutional, because I was hearing that Huduma was going to be compulsory before 2022, and that would have signaled something that is not so nice. So basically, there is a lot that has been left to be desired in terms of the preparedness of IEBC for the 2022 general election. We feel that the government is twisting, the Jubilee government is twisting the IEBC by not providing enough funds for them to do that. Otherwise, I think the 2022 election are a defining moment for this country, just like the 2002 general election that saw the end of the reign of Mzee Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. So 2022 is another opportunity, and it's also a place where we have quite the biggest number of voters joining the voting block. And I have a problem talk with why do we even need to be registered as voters in the country. I felt that we just need to make sure registrations of persons in this country is by biometric. Once you are biometric registered, and I'll tell you, the reason why we spend a lot of money on elections in Africa, it is because of trust. We don't trust our systems. Our people who run these systems are not trustworthy. Look at America. America, during the election of the president, my brother here would come volunteer for 7 hours. When his time to go to the shift finishes, takes his bag, leaves, and another volunteer takes his position. And Americans who just come and vote and go to do their own things. They don't hang around. The way in Kenya, people vote and then they hang around polling stations, intimidating others. And that tells you what level has our democracy grown up to. Our democracy is yet to grow. As my brother said, political parties do not have aspirations, simply because they are purpose vehicles for those who want them. And I think for me, and one of the discussions we had when we were forming CHAMA cha KAZI, we did not want CHAMA cha KAZI to be just about Moses Kuria. We wanted CHAMA cha KAZI to be about young people. And that is why MUUCHENDU, who is not a big name in business in Kenya or a big name in politics, is now an executive member of that party, because the ideas we have in our head on what a political party should be is what we are trying to implement, so that we diversify political parties. They do not live as long as the individuals who formed them. And I will tell you, people build parties to sell. It is the reason why those of us who are associated with the PEP, People's Empowerment Party.
Yeah, you guys were sold inside the party.
Yeah, but the people who are the officials of the party, when we wanted to acquire the leadership of the party, were asking for unheard of amount. They wanted to sell the party. So we did our calculations. Do we pay them, or do we start our own vehicle that is not taken from anyone? And we felt that if we initiate our own party that is not associated with anybody else, it is easier and it is even cheaper, and we will build it in accordance to what we want a political party to be like. So therefore, Bitok, I think for me is that 2022 continues to beckon. IEBC is not prepared. IEBC still has some black elements that we have never sorted. It is still scaring to imagine that it is still Chebukati who will be in charge of the election in 2022. Yes, it is still scaring to imagine that some of the issues that were addressed by the ruling by a Supreme Court that quashed the first election of the president in 2017 has never been addressed. Did we hold anybody accountable to the fact that we spent another billions doing a rerun? Those are things that needs to be checked. Does the Raja Kenya population have confidence with the IEBC? These are questions we need to ask ourselves. And I think the game will be as good as when the both teams are playing trust that the referee they have been given is a trustworthy person. We saw 2 weeks ago Mark Dean being retired, that he is not going to officiate a game because on how he officiated the Arsenal game that was on the previous Monday. And as long as the players do not believe in the referee, we will have a problem. Okay. So we need to have a referee who is above reproach, who is above board. And that is IEBC. And for IEBC to give us nothing but the best, as a government, it has to ensure that we give IEBC the money it requires. Because today, surely, even if you wanted to hold IEBC accountable, where is the money? They will tell you we don't have money. They recently announced the person they intend to have print the ballots for 2022. But that is as far as they can go. They have the money to have the test trials on how he's going to do that work. They don't have the money. So I think for me, tunacheza kidogo. Na tunacheza ni kama 2022 iko mbali. Iko tu
kitaumana.
Ukipiga tu kona iko hapa. Na sisi ndio tutaanza kulia. Na I'm saying this. If by God, if by any chance hell breaks loose with IEBC July next year, I hate to imagine that I will see a sitting member of parliament crying for with IEBC. When they had an opportunity to go to parliament and do a, what do you call it? They do a supplementary budget and allocate the IEBC the money they require so that they can become an independent referee. So, should I say my goodbye?
No, they will say now. Shortly. Joel Kibet, good morning. Team Tackle, that's on YouTube. Martin Kangara, tuned in from London. Good to see you. Martin Kangara. Frederick Juma, good morning. Bitok, happy to join you again. The Tackle today. Keep doing the great work you're doing of enlightening the masses to make informed decisions. Give me a pay bill number. I support your work. The son of Frederick Juma, please inbox me. To me, have inbox. Oh, meskia Mujendu, meskia Gerald Bitok. To me inbox. Daily, KE watching live from Kwale County, Asante Kiriwa Korir, good morning. Chris Kamau, Mushendu Ngirichi's win will be a sweet win by beating Waiguru in a UDA ticket. Watch a woga. Vincent Tony, morning. Good morning to you, Mbalasi Nathan. Mushendu, I really agree with you. Raila is a political genius. Leo, Mushendu was Raila is a political genius. Nice, okay.
No, let me
the winds of change. The winds of change.
No. I think he has gotten me right to this extent that the geniusness in Raila Odinga is coming to the mountain and failing to mention political parties. Right. He has just concentrated on his presidential aspiration. And that is someone who understands the language of the mountain.
All right, okay. Kenneth, good morning. GB, good morning to you. Martin Kangara, Chama cha Kazi. You have to have the best policies in terms of nomination of aspirants. Kongole. Asante Grace Kamau. Mushendu, you don't seem to be a confident candidate. Okay, Allah. MCA aspirants, Makau, good morning. GB, good morning to you. Dan Onduko. Chiloba is being honest when he says so. Remember, he was in 2017. He knows anything. He knows everything. And remember, this is the reason why Rao didn't participate, because the same problems were still existing. And we've had all 5 years to fix this. We've not fixed it. We are waiting again for another time to cry. Joel Chepkwanya, I see voter apathy in Mount Kenya. Anyone relying on Mount Kenya voters will be cheating himself or herself. The best strategy is to campaign countrywide. In 2017, Mount Kenya had 2.9 million registered voters. Okay. Dan Ondugo, Mr. ODWEYO is lying. If you you haven't had anybody who has reached 18 should be allowed to vote. You are encouraging fraud by allowing the graves to open and allow the dead votes to thereafter go back. Okay. Vision Kenya from UK, Bitok, who appoints IBC commissioners, appoint panel. The executive, why do Kenyans complain without looking where the rain starts before it starts beating us heavily? Okay. Joan Jage, good conversation. Good to see you, Joan Jage. Good morning. Hilary Limo, Mushendu, you have been right in all things. I've heard you speak, but I don't agree with the idea of starting new parties. Yet you are the people who should assault in the existing, who should assault in the existing parties, so that parties can be minimum to maybe 3 or 4, which will promote real democracy. Michael Gutai Mushendu, my kissed alumni, wishing you all the best in Limuru. Quest watching from Abu Dhabi. Okay. Kingling asama punguza mzigo initiative iko wapi? Ipo inazunguka www.punguzamzigo.org. Ufanye endorsements, jua lifikisha wapi, najua ndio link. Marvin Wamukota, following Mushendu, go easy on Jubilee. Okay. Aaron Kibet Kitu, Mushendu, in Australia people even vote in advance and the vote is always acceptable by all. Okay. Bitis Chepkoech, so CCK party wants 40% of the ministries. How selfish is that? Frashes Nganga, thanks Bitok, the sound is loud and clear. What happened to Uduma numbers, null and void, and we have not had or received and we could for them. Sebastian Kibet, good morning. Shimio, asante sana. Sebastian, good to see you this morning. File Kiprono, good morning. Esther Ngure tuned in from Kamukunji. Salim Boss, the people we knew are right for the positions never win elections. Democracy only is in the constitution, which is also never adhered to fully. Elizabeth Karanja, using the weakest link to ensure the party is finished completely. That's Jubilee. Mirudi Joram, Handshake partners whom they are using Mount Kenya leaders to claim the mountain will retreat back home during elections and voting. It's not going to be easy to win any seat in Central Kenya using ODM arrangements, my opinion. All right. Okay. Because of time, tunaenda tukifunga. And just one last question. Martin Goni says the 2022 race is decided already. Perception have been created and the 5th has been decided. I love the show. Thank you so much, Martin Gon. It's been a pleasure having you. Na umepotea sana ndugu yangu. Haya, mwisho, swali ya mwisho very briefly. Mtu jibu tu sekunde kidogo. The further registration apathy that's going on. IBC is struggling to meet up numbers. Wakili, what's the problem?
For me, I'll restrain myself on the voter apathy going on Mount Kenya. And pure on 3 or 4 issues. One, Mount Kenya, for now, they don't seem to have a substantive candidate. Second, voter apathy, IBC failure. All these are political strategies. I normally even say, I mentioned this in another broadcast, that rigging is very prevalent in Africa. And even in America, as an winning political strategy. So even voter apathy could be being manufactured. Kwa sababu tukisema hawata register sala, the other narrative that will be pushed after the voter apathy registration ni kuwa kutakuwa na voter apathy wakati wa election. And that will injure so much into someone who has been relying so much 100% on Mount Kenya vote. And I agree with one of our listeners there that, and I normally tell the DP, and I hope he's watching or his people are watching.
Yes.
The biggest mistake he did was to bank on Mount Kenya vote. Mount Kenya votes are normally very slippery and very unbankable. And I remember when he folded his party, ULP, to join hands with TLA. His friend, Ruto, with Double T, told him that he was making a very big mistake. He's getting to an institution, that time terming game as an institution that can never be trusted. I normally say in America, when you meet a presidential candidate, you normally ask him, what is your pathway to power? In Kenya, 2013 and 2017, the pathway to power for President Kenyatta and William Ruto was 100% turnout in Mount Kenya, 100% turnout in Rift Valley. For the deputy president 2022, the head start, and I normally say when you are running against a Mount Kenya candidate, a Mount Kenya candidate starts with what I call 30% advantage because of their numerical strength. Okay. So 2022 deputy president will be relying on 100% turnout in Mount Kenya, 100% in Rift Valley. For Rift Valley, that one he has it. Gideon Moi, Kipsilei, Gideon Moi is an issue in terms of the Rift Valley politics. He's just there to create the razzmatazz. Yeah, he's there to create the political amateurs, excitement, and perception that the Rift Valley has also some division else there. But in Mount Kenya, for sure, Bitoka will tell you one thing. You see, polls have started showing that and creating narrative that apparently in the past William Ruto had 80%, now he's standing at 58%. Another poll will throw that one to 55%. By the time we get into election, the poll will be showing that probably Raila Odinga has 32%, this guy has 52%. And you remember Kimemia saying, for the deep state to fix you, one, you must be electorable. Secondly, you must be credible. The reason why we had tyranny of numbers as a political narrative 2012 was to paint someone as being electable and credible. So that even if utamuongezea some inflation vote kidogo. So this 52%, hata kama kuna ile michezo itachezo, cause we need also to be very pragmatic. We are not theorists or
mafanya swahili ya usiku.
This is not a religious analysis. It's not a church fair show analysis. So ukiangalia kama kutakuwa na hiyo kumuongezea kula, or maybe there will be that perception kuwa akipata 52 haezi akaenda mahali. So for me, I can see this voter apathy as a strategy. And voter turnout, and we normally say in America, they normally say GOT, go out and vote. The only person mwenye ataweza kuwili election ya 2022, forget about people dancing in tracts and removing funny billboard and saying how popular they are. The person who will have the strategy to tell people to come and out and vote the way UD and Moses Kuria did in Georgia. We normally say to the last man, to the last village. That will the person who will be able to determine the presidential candidate
ODWEYO.
in 2022.
Yes, sir.
Why are young people refusing to talk about the millennials exactly?
I'll say, on the side of the people, I'll say there's something I call voter alienation. Voter alienation is a situation where these people have been voting, but the systems and the people they vote for have alienated them.
Okay.
So you realize that both in decision making and development, you vote for someone, and then these people, as they are getting richer, you are either remaining where you are, you're getting poorer. That's how people get alienated. They make bad decisions, they increase the taxation that do not affect them. These guys increase the price of fuel, but because they get fuel claims and mileage claims, it will not affect them. So people feel alienated. So with that alienation, they don't feel the urge to go ahead and register or even vote. The second thing I want to talk about is voter fatigue. And it's related to alienation. You've been doing this the same way so many times, but getting the same result. You get tired.
Yeah.
And I'll understand, because so far we've lived in a propagative political environment where slogans, slangs, gerrymandering, that's what carries the day. And that's why people will stand and shout. If you go to most of these rallies, there's no policy that is solved.
No.
If there is something that is closer to affect the people, they look for something that catches, remains on the mouths of the people. So you realize that with this kind of sloganeering and propaganda, the people get tired. And when people get tired, they feel like they have nothing else to push forward for. With that in mind, we need to understand as leaders and as institutions, and that's why I take the back to IEBC. I pull in the government, I pull in parliament. IEBC, the reason why it's a permanent commission is because its duties are permanent. The duty of IEBC is not just to conduct elections. The duty of IEBC is not just to wait for a by-election and procure materials and conduct elections or register voters. One of the core duties of IEBC is to conduct voter sensitization. Am I right?
Yes.
That is the core duty. Because you cannot tell people to register as voters when they don't know why they're registering as voters. You cannot tell people to vote when they don't know why they are voting, how they are voting. I mentioned something. The core duty of a citizen is the election of leaders. The core civic duty is to elect leaders. Before you elect leaders, there are issues. It's a process. People need to understand why. People need to understand the value of the vote. People need to understand the power of the vote. That's where IEBC is supposed to be doing a continuous process. You see the way they were hyped with BBI. IEBC is supposed to be... I would like to see a chairman at IEBC, like a chief justice like Maraga, who will stand up every day and say we don't have money and we need money and we are doing this and is ready to... It's an independent commission, for heaven's sake. What does it... You have protection... Your tenure of office is protected. Step out and do your job. Because at the end of the day, like he mentioned, IEBC just looks like a puppet from which the strings are being pulled from. There's nothing they are doing. The other day there were issues like there were proposals about campaign financing capping. They quashed it because the people who are pulling the strings told them that's not working. They had, like any decision that IEBC makes that is pro people, that can support people like us who are not rich or financially muscled enough to participate in politics. Anytime IEBC makes a decision that gives people power to participate in politics on a square ground, it's always withdrawn. It's always retracted because there are powers that push it. So IEBC needs to step up, sensitize voters on a continuous process. IEBC needs to have a schedule. We are done with elections. Instead of IEBC letting this political environments to be corrupted from 1st January to 31st December every year and every day, why can't IEBC come up with programs that ensure that we sensitize people? Even try to ensure that these politicians, now that it cannot stop campaigns, because Kenya is a campaign country, if you cannot stop campaigns, then find programs that you incorporate in these people, so that as they go to the people, they sensitize them. Resources are there. In Kenya, there are resources. Our president said that we lose 2 billion. How much can 2 billion do? And when the president said we lose 2 billion, there are two options. Either because he knows the people who are stealing, or the people are stealing for him or with him. Right. So we need to stop such things and start, these games we play around. So at the end of the day, we may blame the people. Yes, fatigue and alienation. And now they have lost the sense and purpose of voting. But at the same time, we have institutions that we fund. And they are supposed to do their job. That job is supposed to be a daytime job. From Monday to Friday, from January to December. We don't see that happening.
All right. Okay. MUUCHENDU, finally.
I will say it in very few words. Every time there is voter registration is a continuous process. You can always walk into your constituency coordinator office, IEBC office, and register as a voter. But every time we have had mass registration of voters, it has been successful because there is goodwill from the politicians of the day. It is the only way we have had successful registration. I can remember 2016. We had Mount Kenya Foundation with hundreds of trucks, politicians with hundreds of trucks. Ads were flooding social media, mainstream media for people to register. Yeah. So I will tell you the reason why they are not registering. Because it is a very well calculated move by the system. Research has shown that voters between the age of 18 and 25 are likely going to go and vote not because of the policies a candidate is bringing. They are likely to vote for the person who brings the best flamboyance kind of politics. And if you put that scenario into 22 politics, it is likely that all the new registered voters will likely vote William Ruto. So the system has known that. I will invite you to check how many adverts have you seen on the newspaper or on TV or tracks you have seen politicians branded them to go and tell people to go out to vote. Have you seen that happen? It is by design that the system would preferably deal with the voters who are already in the system. In Mount Kenya, we are saying that there is 3 million scenario. The IBC has projected 3 million voters in Mount Kenya. If 3 million voters are added to the Mount Kenya voting bloc, and the research is saying that they are likely to vote a certain candidate, and that candidate is not the candidate the system preferably want as the president, what is the best way to deal with it? It is to completely ignore the exercise. You remember the other day, President Uhuru was at the Dam, and the people of Kirinyaga shouted that they want to be registered as voters, and it's not happening. Another thing that is also making voter registration difficult, it is this rotation Chebukati and God knows who have introduced. That tomorrow, the people who are registering in point A are no longer in point A. They are in point B. Say today I came out, I wanted to register as voters because I found my brother at this shopping center. Tomorrow I go, he has moved from that shopping center to another. I lose the momentum to go and register. And so therefore, coupled with the fact that politicians have stayed away from that exercise, and number two, that that rotation of voter registration cracks moving around, that there is no designated specific areas you can find them, it has also deterred, because naturally Kenyans, you push them. So if someone is compelled to go and register and akute crack hayuko hapo, hiyo story amemaliza. So therefore, this voter apathy is by design, as my brother has said. Don't look too far. People must not, it is a known thing. Kenyans, you have to push them. And therefore, one of the tactics we will use is we will not push Kenyans, and they will not come out. And it has worked. In Kiambu, where they are supposed to be 385,000 registered voters, we are not even 20,000. So that tells you that and this is, it takes me back to the issue I alluded to, that there are people surrounding the deputy president that do not want him to work with numbers. Because by now, because this is a known it is a known secret that the system does not want the youths in Mount Kenya, where I come from, to register as voters. It is something that people who are close to the deputy president should have run away with. What can we do? Is it okay for my friend Kimani Ichung'wah, for Rigathi Gachagua, for Didi Nyoro to keep following the deputy president to the coast or to Western Kenya? rather than come help the deputy president in Central, where there is a potential of 3 million new registered voters. Honestly, what business do you have following the DP to other regions when you can camp in your own region and ensure that about 3 million new voters come to register? And this is what some of us who have been seen as we are not saying the things we are not supposed to say have been sidelined in that first line call by the deputy president. Ensure wale watu tunasema about numbers, we do not get to voice it out, because people cannot keep telling me how Rigathi Gachagua is loaded if he can't roll out a registration exercise in the mountain and help the deputy president ensure that we register 3 million voters. You have no business coming to tell me how the deputy president is going to win if there is a basket of 3 million voters that you have not gone to get for the deputy president. Instead, you follow the president to the coast, you follow the president to Makueni, you follow the president to Western Kenya. I'm saying, and those who support the DP, I know today I might receive a lot of backlash, but this is the truth. Any Central Kenya MP who is serious about deputy president winning should spend the next 1 week that is remaining camping in Central Kenya to be able to have this new 3 million registered voters come and register and vote William Ruto. Otherwise, there is nothing you are telling us. Following the deputy president cannot translate to votes. Come and hunt votes for him.
Natamaliza no mungwana. Jambo. Fiti sana ndugu New Jersey. Eh. Eh.
Also, the notion of illicit proof. Pombe imeongezeka sana kwa vijana huko mashinani, wanakosa kuenda kukata kura.
Pombe imeongezeka.
Inakuwa calculated. Pombe imeongezeka huko mashinani sana hizi za kienyeji, ambao unakuta watu wengi wanaenda kuvote naye, badala ya kwenda kupiga kura wanaenda kukunywa hiyo. Ndio waweze kusambaratika. But there is hope also in all this. I'll tell you, Kenyans hawawezi kukimbia saizi when they know there's still time. More so, hawa wenye wanawako kwa system. We need this more than the voters need. Kwa sababu, at the end of the day, ile wakati wa mwisho, mtu atawacha kazi yake, ataenda kukata kura, akijua leo ni siku ya mwisho ile ukweli, ataenda kukata kura. Kwa hivyo hii ya saizi, tusipishe watu. Lakini wale ambao wanahusika kama timu yetu, washughulike kuangalia wale vijana wanauziwa pombe hiyo ati ndio wapotee. Waangalie vile wataweza kudili na hiyo kama pati ya pota hapa. Asanteni sana na asante kwa kunipa nafasi.
Thank you so much, my brother, for tuning in. Thank you, bro. Barikiwa. Thank you so much. As a guy from New Jersey. Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure having you. Hope to see you again soon. Take care. All the best. Muchendu. All the very best.
Nimeshukuru sana.
Wangi.
No, we don't
nimefurahia chama cha kazi iko na very brilliant mind kongela kwa Moses Kuria wishi ma quick recovery. Niliona pale hospitali akisema anasikia vibaya kwa sababu angekuwa amefanya voter mobilization registration saa hizi chenye hao tunasema vibaraka William Ruto wamefail kufanya. Asante.
All right.
I think if you may allow me a few seconds. Okay. I think I came here with two hearts. First one is known, the Butula parliamentary seat. And I think it will be an injustice if I left without telling them something.
Okay.
And I think all I want to tell them is here they have a guy who has the experiential of exposure, someone who has grown through the ranks within Butula and understands the problems. And by virtue of his traveling and his travels and his education, he has learned a few things and a different perspective and is able to see the issues in Butula from the perspective of the 21st century and has a vision that he's willing to execute with ideas and ensure that we develop Butula. The other heart I came with is that for the young people of this country, I'm a founder and convener of a movement called the United for Kenya movement that is trying to ensure that young people are not are not forced into these groups of either being Ruto or Raila or believing this and this. Just like he has said, we've talked about the Mount Kenya. I believe the young people, we can do better with our exposure and knowledge. We can do better. We can mobilize around ideas, because at the moment there's no ideological convergence. So as young people, I want to encourage young people to go into leadership, and I want to tell young people, usione kijana mwenzako ukasema huyu hana, huyu hawezi. Kama hawezi, wewe simama basi. So that we come together. My vision for this country is, and through that movement we are mobilizing young people, and we are going to partner with other political parties and entities to ensure that in 2022 we have at least 40% of the seats in the National Assembly and in the county assemblies, especially at the county assemblies. It's not hard. Once you have a strategy, money is very important, but as young people, don't focus on the money, because money is the currency of the old and the rich. Wewe hauna pesa, usipigane na ndovu ku. So as young people, have a strategy, but step up and align yourself with the people who have the vision and the ambitions of this country and the young people. One last example I want to tell people, as young people, I always say, tomorrow I'm willing to align myself with any person who comes out and says, youth fund, for example, youth fund, badala ya kusema tutapatia watu 6,000. Sema youth fund, vile CDF inapata 2.5%, sema youth fund itakuwa 5% of the budget, tutafungua ofisi kwa wards, na hizo ofisi kwa wards tutakuwa business incubation centers, technology centers, mentorship centers. That way young people will come and be mentored and empowered and depend on themselves. We don't want to beg. Thank you very much.
Hamutaki go beg. Haya. The people of Butula, there is your guy. And the people of Limuru, here is your guy. Ni kama ndugu yangu wakili sasa baada anangangana kufufua Jubilee. Anatuambia akimaliza postmortem. Ndio hapa ni ufufuaji wa chama, basi anatuambia kwa
goja. Utapata mwana si wako.
Basi nashukuru. Thank you so much. This has been the Siasa Wednesday of 27th October 2021. It's been a pleasure having you. Guys on YouTube, Peter Kinyanjui anasema alikuwa anakufunza shule. Anasema you are a student in Thigio Boys. Leo hii kwa America.
Kinyanjui.
Kwa Atlanta, Georgia. Peter Kinyanjui anasema alikuwa mwanafunzi wake. Alikuwa Thigio Boys.
That's Peter Kinyanjui. I'm trying to recall who is Peter Kinyanjui. But Peter Kinyanjui just inbox me. I did not disappoint you. I did not disappoint you. Yes.
It has been, it's been too much. Mwalimu. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Take care. See you again tomorrow on Diaspora Edition with Kida Joel Arama, Chairman Alfred Sergeant, Joel Kips, wangwana wote hapo. Ngonini ulienda? Kina Anwar Sadat, sijui mulienda wapi? You need to show up. Haya, tunaonana kesho kwenye Diaspora Edition na wangwana mweze kuendelea na mazungumzo yao. Naona watu tano shanga kina Radoro USA yupo, Joel Kips, naona Masi, na kuona Masi, watu Mbugua Kinyanjui, Paul Alesem, kesho Sam Cheraisi, David Monda pia atakuwa Mr. LM all the way from Canada, pia atakuwa Genevieve Tionj from USA, Isaac Lagarde pia, Frank Tuck, Arungano ambao kesho atakuwa kwenye Diaspora Edition. Until then, take care and see you on Friday on Sheria Wiki. Kesho mko na ngona Diaspora. Bye bye.